Hi, and welcome to English. Get this started. Hi, welcome to English 1A. I'm Professor Kimberly Escamilla, and this is our summer short course. For each unit, I'm going to be doing a couple of these different videos where I walk through the slides, and then I'll make the slides available without the lecture so that you can spend more time looking at the slides and the slide notes. So for this lecture, we're going to talk about just a little bit about the class, how it's going to go, some ground rules, and then we'll talk a little bit about this diagnostic summary assignment. And I'm going to give you some suggestions or thoughts about how to do annotation. And then we'll dig into thesis statements and paragraph development. So I wanted to give you a sense of the work cycle of what's going to happen. So there's 4 units, and for each unit we'll start with an online discussion to kind of really figure out what we already know. And then we'll go from there to you'll be doing the reading and then annotating and rereading. And then we'll look at like how to put together the prompt and the claim and gather evidence. We'll take a reading quiz, and then you'll start writing a draft. We'll do a peer review, which I'll pair you up with someone, and you'll do that online or over the phone, however you want to do it. Then you'll revise, and then you'll submit your work. And then you'll look at the comments I give you, review those, make some changes sometimes if you're going to revise the paper, and or maybe do some tutorials that I give you, and then go to the next paper. Sometimes there'll be some overlap, but most of the time that's the cycle as it'll go through each unit. So definitely review the syllabus. The schedule is online. It's under the part that says calendar on Canvas. So you can go to calendar and go to the agenda view of calendar, and it'll make a list of all the assignments that you can print. You can also see it under modules, and then you can see a chronological list of the assignments. Remember, for this course you can use Foothills TLC to get help with your writing in the Writing Center. It's located in 5999, though this summer we are moving to behind the library, so there might be a transition time during the course. We also have a new feature called NetTutor, and on NetTutor you will be able to have online tutoring with a live tutor. I believe they say it's 24/7. It's a new service for us, so I'm curious and I'll want your feedback about how it went if you use that service. I've added it to the list on the left-hand side on the course shell, and you can click on it and look at that. I also sent an online instructional video. So you want to start the unit by reading the handout on summary and paraphrase. It should be review for you, and I kind of know it is, but once you review that, you'll want to watch the video by Tansin Chopra and take notes, and then you will prepare for writing a summary. You will then go to the timed summary exam and click on that, and you'll have 2 hours to write the summary and to upload it. Okay? The first text after that summary assignment, that first text we'll read is Whistling Vivaldi by Claude Steele. This is a great book. It tells basically the story of 25 years of his research, and it kind of tells it in narrative form, and it mixes, you know, his story, statistics, and discoveries, and just a real interesting body of information. For the first paper, the full essay we'll use the first 3 chapters of Whistling Vivaldi, and then we'll use various chapters after that for the other different essays we'll be writing. Some ground rules that I wanted to point out is this idea of calling in, calling out. We want to make sure, because sometimes when we're online and we post things, we can come off a different way than if you were in person and you can hear the tone of voice. So we want to make sure we're careful with each other. If you do feel offended by anything anyone has said, try to gently let that person know, or if you don't feel comfortable, let me know and I can help with that. If you really make a mistake and you feel like you regret like a posting or something, I can remove it for you. And I can also just speak on your behalf privately. So some examples of what that might look like. Instead of saying, you know, you don't understand because you are blank, a woman or a man or young or old or whatever, or you're wrong, or I don't have time for this, or you want to say, you know, wow, that really hurt me when you said that, or I felt triggered by that, Or I think a better way or a more effective way to say that could be blank. So give alternatives, talk about how it made you feel versus being accusatory, and then, you know, reach out to get support for it. So in the recent news, these pictures are kind of hard. In the recent news, there's been a lot of issues that have come up regarding stereotypes, whether it's Halloween costumes, the campaign, or incidents of police abuse like Tamir Rice. So I've been pondering these questions about stereotypes, and I'm wondering how much or why they have so much power, and how my students may view those in relationship to the American dream. And then looking at it, racial profiling as it impacts police use of force and cops and their training, and also why high school students tend to be, and early college students tend to be much more prone to falling into cultural stereotypes or feeling victims of them. Here's a bunch of stereotypes. I thought the image was interesting, that are much more specific and ones that you might feel like you have fallen into. And I want you to be thinking about these, because your first online discussion, other than the intro, is to talk about stereotypes you've experienced. And it's going to be also in your first full essay. You'll be picking a stereotype that you've dealt with over time. So here's some stereotypes that you might have heard or seen. Sometimes stereotypes can be positive or negative, and even the positive ones have damaging effects. We'll find out in Claude Steele's research what kind of effects these have. So when we start the first section on summary, and it's really, I put paraphrase in there just so you understand the difference, but we're primarily focusing on summary for the diagnostic assignment. I want you to review the handout, and then review the model. So what I did is I watched a video, a TED Talk, another one by Keith Jason, and I took notes, and you're going to see those notes. And then I wrote a summary based on that. And it's a model for you to look at, so that when you then will watch the TED Talk by Tansin Chopra and take notes, and then get ready for writing an in-class, sort of, not in-class, sorry, a timed summary, okay? And then I'll give you feedback on your writing. So one of the first things is how to annotate. And annotation is the idea of taking notes while you're reading and actively responding. And this will be really important for this assignment, but all your assignments as well. And it helps because it allows you to trace your thinking and to leave your mark. If you write if you read a whole bunch and then you do not write anything and you wait, you know, a day or two and you go back to that book, you won't remember what you read. We can't keep that information in our mind. But if we make notes and write in the margins, or do do some sort of annotating, that can help us remember and recall. So it saves time, and it helps us make connections between our what we know and what we will learn, and what we've learned in the past, and we can build these bridges of knowledge and ideas. So you might annotate different ways. Some people do a double entry journal like this one, where you have quotes from the text on the left and your ideas about them on the right. That's an option for you. You might write right in the book. I do a lot of this, where you make questions, you write notes, you underline things you're not sure about or you want to know more. I also circle words I don't know and actually look them up, and that can be really helpful too. If you really want to sell that book back, you may, and you don't want to write in it, invest in some Post-its and really mark up your books with Post-its so that you can easily find those sections and not have to spend too much time looking for them when you're writing your essays. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears. We're going to talk a little bit about thesis statements. Now, thesis statements are claims, and they're essential in your essays. Not so much in your summary, but in the essays you're writing. So they normally will come at the last sentence of your introduction. And there's 3 types, and we're going to give examples of all 3 of those that relate to this first upcoming essay that you'll write. The first is claim of policy. So this argues for action or change. The second is claim of value, and that's kind of a comparison. So something is better or worse or more or less effective or valuable than something else. And then the third is a claim of fact. It argues directly that something is true, and so much so that it sounds like a fact. However, it needs to be arguable. So you can't put a stat as a thesis, but you can say something that sounds like it's fact, and it can be arguable, and that can still be a really good thesis. It's a strong one, though. So here's some examples. A claim of policy for talking about stereotypes. You could say stereotype threats should be studied in high school so students and teachers can understand. That should statement will clue you that it's a claim of policy. Claim of value, while direct stereotype threats like laws targeted at one group are discriminatory, stereotypes that are in the air are more dangerous because they are harder to detect and eliminate. So that shows the comparison. And then the claim of fact, overcompensating to fight stereotype threats is dangerous because it carries health consequences over time. Okay, so an exercise that you could do would be to look at these two and ask yourself which of these two thesis statements or claims, what type are they? Are they policy, fact, or policy, fact, or value? Sorry. And so you might see in the second one the should statement, which stands out as policy, and then the first one stands out as value. Okay, and then in this section, I want to talk a little bit about paragraph development. So when you write your essay, you have an introduction that'll end with a thesis statement, and I'll talk about intro types later. And then you'll have body paragraphs, and it's really important with these body paragraphs that they follow a format. And so you'll start with a topic sentence, you'll give some explanation, then you'll move into your evidence, and then analysis. The evidence and analysis can be repeated if you have multiple things that you are looking at. In this essay, not the summary diagnostic, but the essay you're going to write, that one you will have 2 pieces of evidence in every body paragraph. So, but that structure, they call them T paragraphs, that structure is important to keep because it allows your reader to follow your ideas and to see that you're backing them up appropriately. Here's an example of each of those items that I just said, so of what a topic, sentence, evidence, and analysis are. Here's an example of them written out if I were writing the paragraph for the essay coming up, so for Steele's book. And so I'm giving a sample topic sentence, a sample explanation, evidence, analysis, and then a second evidence and analysis. So this slide here is a really good model for you to use when you're writing your essay to kind of see the steps, okay, for a body paragraph. This is all one body paragraph. Okay, so in the next lecture I'll discuss about evidence, how to choose it, and how to use it, how to cite it, and how to introduce. And then we'll also talk about whistling Vivaldi and some of the concepts and studies and findings he had in there. I'm really looking forward to working with you and excited to start seeing your writing. If you have questions, please email or text or call anytime, and I'll be happy to talk with you.